We're live. Hereby call to order the meeting to set the agenda for next week's board meeting. Roll call, please. Oh, before we start, to inform you, before she does the roll call, Mrs. McCurdy and Mr. Brogna are attending a Pennsylvania State School Board Advocacy Day meeting. They are meeting with our state legislatures to voice the concerns of our district and the need for better state funding and charter school reform. So that will be the reason for their absence. Mrs. McCurdy may wrap up her meeting a little early and be able to call in. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Bibla?
Here.
Mr. Brogna? Mrs. McCurdy? Mrs. McGovern? Mrs. Spath?
Here.
Mr. Swank? Mr. Costello? Mrs. Haddix?
Here.
Mr. Boone?
Here.
4 members present.
Administrators present.
Yes, good evening. Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome the members of our community that are here in person. I'd also like to welcome our community that are watching online. So October, we are here. Things are going, I think, exceptionally well in school, and we appreciate all the effort and hard work of our staff, our students, and of course our families that support the Crestwood School District. I'd like to welcome our administration. I see in person Mrs. Malazzo, Director of Human Resources, Mr. Peritoni, Secondary Vice Principal, Mr. John Gorham, Secondary Principal. I see Mr. Scott Brummagem, Director of Buildings and Grounds. I see Mr. Damian Blanchard, Director of Technology. Hello there, Damian. I see Mrs. Bonnie Gregory, Rice Elementary Principal, and I see Mrs. Peg Foster, Director of Curriculum, K-12. Thank you so very much. I would like to just share some information before we begin our committee agendas. Very big congratulations to Molly DiMarzo on finishing her 4-year regular season career with an undefeated record. If you can, just process that for a moment. This young lady has been running cross country for 4 years. Okay, so that means she would have started as a 9th grader, and her regular season record is unblemished. She has never lost a regular season meet. Tremendous. What Molly has done for the district, she's represented us so wonderfully and really has, I think, shown the other students of this district just how competitive, how fun cross country can be. And if you look at our numbers, and I have gone to several meets this year as well as last year, if you look at the number of participants, both are male and female, and compare us to other teams, you know, we have quite a few more students participating. And I think it's when you see someone like Molly and you see just how she's handled herself and all the wonderful attention she's received through the media, you could understand how it becomes infectious to our other students. So Molly, congratulations, 4 years undefeated, and that may stay, Mr. Boone, a long, I know you're a historian, that may stay a long, long time.
Yeah, it sure will. When I started my teaching career, I was a cross-country coach for 4 years, and that is an incredible feat, just incredible with the number of races they run and the competition around here. She is to definitely be congratulated.
Absolutely. Both are men and girls cross-country teams have had a great season, and good luck now as they get ready for the postseason. Want to remind our community that this coming Wednesday, October 20th, a very, very special event will take place here during the afternoon for our students It's where the Crestwood School District is going to acknowledge and honor three past graduates on being a distinguished alumni. The three honorees is Louis Fouché, class of 2003, James Harvey, class of 1942, and Marcy Turney, class of 1988. I'm excited and proud to say that all three of our recipients will be on hand this Wednesday. They are coming back. All three are from out of the area. All three will be here. They'll be right on this stage speaking to our students about the tremendous accomplishments that they've had in their careers, all of which began, of course, with a piece of this school district, leading that way with them. And that's something that we have been looking forward, working as a committee for about 18 months. And Wednesday we'll get that opportunity to honor these three. And I know you've seen a lot of the media around what these three have accomplished. It's impressive, and we'll have more to share. And the entrance to our secondary campus will be displaying these three and their accomplishments. And for many, many, many years to come, that wall will grow with a new plaque and new honorees each year. So we are looking forward to this Wednesday, and I know it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for our students. Finally, never too early to talk about the holiday breakfast that will take place for our senior citizens on Sunday, December 12th. The holiday breakfast is free to all of our area senior citizens, a very small way for us to thank our senior citizens for all they've done to build the foundation of the Crestwood School District. This year, we're so happy that we will be able to offer an in-person event as well as a drive-through. Now, there will be plenty of logistics that we'll share with you in the upcoming weeks, but it will be in person, obviously social distancing, as well as a drive-through for those who still are most comfortable, being at home or being, not in an area where there's a potential for a crowd. We will social distance. Holiday breakfast, free to our senior citizens, open to everyone. So please mark your calendars, bring your mom, your dad, your grandparents. It's a tremendous occasion. The people that have done it the past 2 years just say it really is a highlight of the Christmas here in Mountaintop. So December 12th, Sunday, more information to come, Mr. President. And with that, I have something else. Oh, yes. And I've mentioned this several times online, and this young lady is very impressive. Congratulations to junior Riley Robbins on her selection by the governor's office to serve on the Governor's Youth Council on hunting, fishing, and conservation. The Youth Council provides the governor and State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources on ways to engage young people in hunting, fishing, and conservation. Riley is authoring an article about the work and goals of the Youth Council, which will appear in an upcoming issue in the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission's Angler and Boater magazine. Congratulations to Riley on volunteering and being chosen for this honorable task. I shared a picture. She was actually presented with the medal from Judge Gartley. And what a tremendous, really a tremendous achievement by Riley. And again, when I spoke about Molly and her, really showcasing how great cross country is, Riley is doing that same thing in the field of hunting and fishing, and this is tremendous. And so Riley, congratulations, and thank you for making us so very proud. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will now begin our committee reports. First one is Human Resources. None of the members are currently present. I am a sitting member of all committees, so I will try to handle this, and we'll need seconds from whoever is available. So those members, none presently here, will be seek approval of the minutes from the September 9th meeting. I make a motion to approve those.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, going to recommend approval of moving the following items to the agenda. I'm assuming item number 5, that is the high school building. The hire you there?
That is,
Yes.
Okay.
yep, that's an open position. And that is the secondary campus.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Hearing none, I make a recommendation to move these items forward to the agenda for October 22nd. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, let me see here. It's not working. Policy, Mrs. Spath.
Mr. Boone, I'm sorry, I'm in the car, so I can't read the document.
Okay, I will handle that. Our roll call, Mrs. Spath is currently present. Mrs. McCurdy may be here later, and Mr. Costello is absent. Seek a motion to approve the minutes of the policy meeting for September 9th, 2021. I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
None. We're going to recommend consideration and approve the following. 2 items be moved to the October 21st board meeting agenda. Second reading on policy numbers 103 and 104, which deal with discrimination in Title IX sexual harassment. I will be in touch with Mr. Costello in the upcoming week to see if they are going to be adopted on the second or third reading, depending on the nature of the changes in the policies. They can be adopted on first, second, or third reading, so we'll take a look at that. Any other items up for discussion? Questions from the board? The public? Okay, if not, I make a motion to move those 2 items to the agenda for October 21st. I so move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
None? Okay. Next will be academic programs. Mrs. Bibla.
McCurdy and McGovern are absent. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2021. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I recommend moving the following items to the board meeting next week, 1 through 4.
Okay,
Questions from the board?
a little discussion on item 2. I guess this would fall under item 2, the health and safety program. We have had requests to use district facilities indoors, which we did not do last year, from various organizations such as the Youth Basketball League. The Kiwanis would like to hold a pancake breakfast in the near future. And these usually do not come up for approval before the board. And I think the feeling, well, the understanding is our facilities will be used with our protocols, our masking protocols, which we use while school is in session and are even using here tonight. So just to give some direction to the administration, we can start approving, and I know some submitted and said we're waiting to hear from you. We can start approving those requests as long as our protocol is followed.
Yes, and if I may just add to that, Mr. President, Mr. Brumage and I had a conversation earlier, and again, we welcome back the community. We know we're going to do our very best to mitigate any sort of spread of infection with social distance. Certainly, we will sanitize when the events are finished. But what we do need to also get back to, and not necessarily related to the breakfast or some of these other things, but the rental policy with the school district, and Mr. Bard, myself, Mr. Brumage, working on. We have several different facilities, and there's certainly different charges for the type of events that'll be taking place. So we're going to meet next week and again present to the board something that's already been in place, but just a revised fee structure to the use of our facilities.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board on items 1 through 4? Any questions from the public?
Thank you. Hello, Kim Bronstein, Pine Street, Mountaintop. My husband and I submitted an email today to Stephanie that she requested that we send it early to help the board look this over beforehand today. This is from my husband also, Larry Bronstein. We would like to revisit the parental choice.
Excuse me, if you could speak a little more into the microphone. It's
Sure.
hard to hear up here.
Yeah, it's hard with the mouse go. We would like you to revisit the parental choice versus mask mandate and have a new vote. The current Crestwood mask exemption form is more restrictive than the Pennsylvania health order for exemptions. If the vote is to continue the mask mandate, then provide a provision that if the mandate is found illegal in court, the school district will follow the court's ruling. There's an upcoming case next week in the Commonwealth Court of Harrisburg on Wednesday, October 20th. There's also another lawsuit pending. We've attached a copy of this email that we forward of the legal argument for optional masking and the school board not having any liability titled Considerations for School Board Members. We talked about this legal argument at last month's board meeting. Please forward to members and the solicitor. We know the Pennsylvania Department of Education has threatened other school districts. The legal opinion shows the board is not liable for making mask mandates a parental choice. The school district received money for COVID under the CARES Act. How is the money being spent? Is there a deadline to spend the money? And lastly, how are our students academically performing? How do students perform on the PSSA and Keystones? Is there any PSAT, SAT Act data to share? We've also attached a doctors and scientists declaration that we'd like you to review and discuss for next week's board meeting.
Mrs. Bronstein, I'm Peter Bard, the business manager. I will address the COVID money that has been spent, or we are being spent. We have spent some money on the summer programming to address learning loss. We have spent money on hiring a social worker. We've spent money on hiring a special ed teacher. We bought approximately 700 Chromebooks. We have bought cleaning supplies and sanitation supplies to keep our students safe and our schools clean and sanitized from potential infection. We have approximately 3 years to spend the COVID relief money that we have received, and we've received 3 phases of the COVID relief money currently, and we've also maintained our staffing levels as well due to the COVID pandemic. So there are some of the many ways that we have spent the COVID money. We've also spent money on redoing our technology brain and our wiring here in the school district, where our wiring needed to be replaced, and as well as our brain did, to support virtual learning at a much greater pace because of the fact that some of our students have chosen to learn virtually, and that's why we have decided to replace that with our COVID relief money as well. So we have 3 years to spend the money, and so we have until September of 2024 to spend the balance of our COVID relief money, which was one of the lowest in Luzerne County, by the way, as well.
Would we be able to find that on the website for the public to view that and what the individual amounts are of each of those things you listed?
Yes, we have all that information listed on our website. We have done presentations on this in the past, and all the material is being able to be found on our website, but we will continually update it and ensure that it is on our website.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And the rest of the questions I'll yield to Mr. Mahalik and the rest of the...
Sure thing. Mrs. Foster, would you like to address Mrs. Bronstein's question number 4? I'll just repeat that. How are our students academically performing? How did the students perform with PSSA and Keystones? And is there any PSAT, SAT, ACT data to share?
Certainly, sir. It's my pleasure to tell you that the PSSA scores are unfortunately not released publicly by the state yet. We've received preliminary information that indicates, as we suspected, about 50% of our student body approximately opted out of the exam. And the residual effects were that our test scores were not indicative of our typical performance because half of our students chose, due to the COVID situation, to sit out the exam and defer that until the winter wave. I do not know how the state will be releasing this information to the public. They've released it to us confidentially, and at that point, we're using this information to design further interventions for our students. The ACT and SAT information also is delayed until the springtime. Our PSAT scores from the spring were about what I expected based on the fact that a very small population of our students participated. We did have 2 merit scholars come out of the batch, which was impressive given the challenges that they faced. This year's PSAT and National Merit Scholarship exam is scheduled for October 26th. We have higher hopes for this because there are much more students participating than there were last spring. So of that pieces, sir, I think I addressed them all. Did I miss any?
Nope, I think that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. As it relates to 1 and 2, obviously, Mrs. Bronstein, if that time comes when the state does lift that mask mandate, of course, that will come before the board to determine if we want to continue with a mask mandate in district or then move to parental choice. There's, again, we're not sure. We hear so many different things. I'm on a whole bunch of different Zooms and conference calls, but right now, not expecting to hear anything before maybe the first or second week of November on any changes to the state mask mandate. But certainly we'll all be informed if that should change and if it should become a local decision. I think that's good.
Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, open discussions. Oh, hold on. I make a motion to move items 1 through 4 over to the board agenda. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I have a few areas for open discussions. The first one we've already addressed with the use of the ESSER 3 and American Recovery Plan monies. We will continue to look for ways to close that gap where students just simply haven't acquired learning yet through the use of this money. The open discussion item 2 is comprehensive planning discussion. We are about 8 weeks away from a final comprehensive plan approval. We are in the phase where we are uploading information into the Future Ready Index portal. Part of that requires 4 district level plans to be also submitted as part of the comprehensive planning process. The first one is the Chapter 49 Educator Induction Plan. That plan has been in effect for many, many years, and it is how to bring on new teachers into our district and help them know and understand not only our processes, but how they're evaluated as teachers, how to improve their instruction in the classroom, how to support students, both socially, emotionally, as well as academically, and how to handle all of the logistics of coming into a school building. This induction plan has been updated and is required to be posted for a 28-day review on our website. And after tonight's meeting, we will post it tomorrow for review. Their changes were purely grammatical as well as updating dates on the form. There were no other changes needed because the form is effective as it is. The second plan that is required for 28-day public review is the Chapter 48 Professional Education Development Plan. This plan also was examined by the Act 48 committee and has been presented to us for 28-day review. The highlights were very few changes. The first one was that professionals that are long-term substitutes, in our past, we didn't include them in the professional development plan until they reached 90 days of work with us in the same position. That is now changed to 45 days. So if they are with us in one position for a full marking period, after that, they are enabled and allowed to accumulate Act 48 credits towards their teaching certification moving forward as a professional educator. So that's a change. The other changes were the infusion of our goals in connection with professional learning to our comprehensive plan. So the two sets of plans that we've talked about, the comprehensive plan about learning and moving forward with technology, is now also embedded in the professional development plan so that those two things are connected. So that will also be posted for 28-day review. And the last one is a quick update that popped into my email today, and is something that is on our radar, as that House Bill 1332, it has moved out of the House and into the Senate. House Bill 1332 requires that school districts post their curricula on their website. That has been a goal of mine, and now I see it moving forward in legislation. So I've begun the process with our technology department to create a curriculum website page within our Crestwood School District website that we can have that information available for families to be able to see in a way that makes sense for them. So it's something that's underway, and I'll bring you more information as that unfolds. Any questions for me?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excellent work to you and your team, Mrs.
Thank you.
Foster.
Thank you.
Do believe we also have, Mr. Peritoni, would you like to make your way up to the podium? Again, Mr. Peritoni is our secondary vice principal. Him and Mr. Gorham been working, I think, very well at the beginning of the year. And
There we go. Okay.
he's going to discuss an idea and a concept that we've been talking about almost since I arrived. I credit you, Jeff, and Mr. Gorham, John, on putting this in motion.
Okay, so what I want to talk about is our school discipline. So currently we have detention, which is held on Tuesday and Thursdays or Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, and we have out-of-school suspension. But there's something that we have listed in here in our discipline procedures that is in-school suspension, which is actually worded wrong. It should be in-school support, and that's what I want to talk about today. And actually, it's just, I think, just an oversight, because if you look at our student discipline, right in the beginning, it talks about, it says the Crestwood School District acknowledges that students' conduct is closely related to learning, and which we all believe that. It next talks about what is discipline. Discipline is not the same as a punishment, and we all believe that. It is more like a training that develops self-control, character, and orderliness. So we go into the next page, and it says, learning is more difficult when unnecessary distractions exist or when plans are unnecessarily disturbed. The Crestwood School District is committed to the belief that all students are entitled to the best education possible. This is all in our school discipline. And then it goes down to the reasons that we use this discipline. And we go at level 1 and to level 2, which is the most important. And a lot of it comes down to tardiness, cutting class, lateness to class. And the final 2 are truancy or leaving the building, all which are done outside of the classroom. So what we have is the detention policy, which is great. They have work to do in detention, but after detention, we go to out-of-school suspension. And that's where I think these kids, especially the ones that are over and over and over, they fall behind. And we can't do anything to help them at home. So I think that's where we need to come in with our in-school support. And I think everybody here agrees that we do need in-school support. And I think we have a way to do it. We do have a room that is utilized for our speech, and it's not utilized that often. So I think if we look at more of our support staff, our paraprofessionals, some of them are only here for a part of the day. I'm hoping that we could look into extending their hours, maybe doing it, having our paras help us. I know we have to write it up and post it, but have our paraprofessionals, 1 or 2 of them, extend their hours, that we could do maybe something, multiple half days for in-school support, or a full day. So I'm just coming to all of you to ask for your support and looking forward to pushing something like this forward for our students. Thank you.
Before you
I'm sorry,
walk
what's
away,
that?
again, I thank you. The premises of this, I believe, is an alternative to expulsion, an alternative to suspension, an alternative to having kids be, in some cases, get what they want, and that's
Correct.
to be sent home for.
And that's
for 3
mainly what I
days.
was seeing this year. So in the past couple of years that I assisted, the parents obviously don't want us to give them out of school suspension.
Right.
And we don't want to do it as well. But once you get to that level, you have to go to the next step. So there are reasons for out of school suspension.
There are.
But the ones that we're dealing with currently at Crestwood, because we are a fantastic school, the ones that we currently see really, I think, are more the kids acting out. And it's because they are behind and they don't know what else to do, so they act out.
Right, and why I'm, really impressed with this is, again, the philosophy of we can't intervene if you're not in school. We can't redirect. We can't help you learn through some of the challenges you are dealing with, coping strategies. Behavior and discipline comes in all forms, but there's a root to that. And when it's the policy says you go out for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, there's very little benefit. And you're right, there is a time and a place where that is necessary. But that should be extreme in at least my experience.
Absolutely.
Because nobody gains, nobody wins from a suspension.
No.
But I think in this, what you have put together, and still we need some logistics in this. And
Correct.
is, hopefully they're here. There's certainly a consequence, and it's a severe consequence, but yet our team of specialists can work with these students.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that makes a difference. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Close academic programs.
Thank you. Next is technology. We are going to delay that one. Mrs. McCurdy asked if we could delay it.
She might be on. Mrs. McCurdy, are you joining us?
No, she.
Yes, I am here now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you.
You have a copy of the agenda?
I am pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mrs. Bibber, are you present?
Here.
And Mr. Costello? Okay. A motion to approve the minutes of September 9th, 2021 Technology Committee meeting. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So the topics for discussion, Mr. Blanchard will take over these subjects. Mr. Blanchard?
Thank you, Mrs. McCurdy. So first on my topics is I've been working with Mrs. Foster on some of the Chromebook use agreements for both our parents and students, along with a newly founded warranty program that our parents could get involved in now that all our students have devices. In front of you, you'll see a copy of both of these. On the front page is the parent and student Chromebook use agreement, and this discusses what the Chromebooks are used for from an educational standpoint. It also discusses some of the care and maintenance that the students and parents should look to do to keep these in, good condition and make it usable throughout the term that they have them. And finally, just some tips on how parents could work their students into having access to something digital and connected to the internet at all times. On the back is the actual agreement. It talks about what the district agrees to by providing Chromebooks to students, keeping them filtered and protected on the internet. And then it follows with some agreements both from the student and the parents on taking care of the device and keeping it in good shape. And now that our students have devices, obviously we're going to see breaks. We're going to see, drops, damage, accidental, things like that will happen. So I've worked out with a company called Worth Av Group, and they're actually a great company. They support all devices from Chromebooks to computers, and they offer a pretty substantial amount of warranty coverage brought about by an annual term that will cover everything from accidental damage, even as far down as to theft and vandalism, barring some sort of police report and so forth. But that document on the last page talks about that, and the price is at $40. So at $40 per year, the device can be protected from all those things. The process and logistics of that for the parents, they will sign up directly with the warranty company via the link that you see at the bottom of that paper. That will give them about 3 weeks to sign up. It's an enrollment period. The coverage will begin October 18th and run until October 18th of the 2022 calendar year. Any damage or anything that happens to the device can still be brought to the technology department, and we'll handle the logistics of getting it to them and then back in the time that the device is out under warranty. Barring availability, we do have a good portion of Chromebooks to provide as loaners so the kids can continue to learn while their device is getting fixed. Any devices that are deemed unfixable under the warranty are refunded back to us in full value to allow us to purchase another one to then provide that student. They do even go as far as warranting the device that we give as a loaner. So while it's out, that device is also covered just in case something were to happen in the terms. As far as turnaround time, everything is done pretty quickly. It's FedExed out directly overnight, and then it's just buying parts and so forth on the return. But the students will have a loaner device in the meantime. So this little packet is going to be delivered to our families tomorrow via all means, whether it's Comet News, whether it's internal messaging to our parents so that they can review this. That window then will open on Monday, and they can begin deciding to enroll if they'd like. Any questions on that?
Right, just a statement. Thank you, Mr. Blanchard, for this. Of course, it was, the initiative is tremendous, and it's an initiative that you started before I got here. So I again commend you. It's important for us in so many ways to be one-to-one. But of course, we know, and listen, I purchase things for my own children, and they break really easy these days. These are just not built, so it doesn't necessarily mean our kids are destructive. It means our kids are busy and doing a lot of things, not making excuses, but things fall. Kids step on them. It happens. And a very low cost insurance, I think is just tremendous. And as I do always, if a parent has any issues whatsoever, please reach out to us, and we will help you through that.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Moving on to the other discussions, elementary printers. This was discussed a few weeks ago regarding adding some printers to our elementary buildings for our teachers, just to give an outlet for them to print outside of the copy time that's happening for their bulk of their stuff. Sometimes there's last minute things, whether it be quizzes or things that aren't prepared. And over the last few years, we've kind of eliminated printing to kind of reduce costs, but we still need to provide some options since we've removed them from every room. So we have wired up. I am negotiating the printing price. Unfortunately, printers right now are a little higher than they used to be due to demand and supply. So I am introducing another company right now to get some comparable rates. And I also want to implement a software that will help just control the prints, just so we know that, they have capability. They can use things like walk-up printing so prints don't get, clumped up with other prints that might be going to the same printer, and then just help us kind of audit that so we know what kind of, amount of printing we're doing and make sure it's cost efficient. So I am in the final measures of deciding on the printers. You guys will see that, and then we can decide to move that forward for them. The core refresh project that we started just a few months back, the wiring project portion, again, is 95% complete. Most of the panels are up now. We were waiting on those. However, our core hardware is still taking a bit. The last updated ship date now has been pushed October 18th. So again, hoping that actually ships. We could begin that project once we receive it. But again, we kind of knew hardware was going to be hard to get. So we keep, unfortunately, waiting for that. I have adjusted some of the Wi-Fi in the building. One of the concerns after some of the changes that we made to Wi-Fi over the last month was providing our students a way to at least connect to the Wi-Fi with personal devices, specifically when they're here for sports, after hours, anytime they might need to call a family member because we know reception on the mountain isn't the best. That system is now in play. It starts at 4 p.m. every day, runs until about midnight, and runs all weekend. That's an open network that is completely isolated from the school's network, so we can, make sure all our data is secure, at the same time providing our kids internet to call family members, use it for any means or vendors that might come in. Lastly, the field house doors and cameras project that we had from several months ago, the doors have all been 100% activated now. I've worked with our director of athletics, Dean Ambosi, about supplying who would have access to those doors, so we have disseminated that. And they are functional. All the cameras are up except for a couple that we're waiting on, again, due to demand, due to availability. And outside of that, that's all I have. So any questions for me? Yes, Ms. Law.
Damon, how's the Wi-Fi in the building going? With everybody on their computers and everything, are we strong? Is it a lag?
In the beginning of the school year, it was a little rough. We found that after we added all the Chromebooks, with the kids also having all the personal devices, it was a bit taxing, especially not having some of the new upgraded hardware we're hoping for. So I did have to remove the students' personal devices from the network. It was just way too many devices. We were close to 3,000 additional devices, and it was just, it's too much. So after we removed that, we fixed that quickly. So far it's been running as good as it can, obviously. We have some hiccups, again, mainly because we're here on the top of the mountain where sometimes we have more outages than we like. It's not really to our control, but we do the best we can to get it up as quick as we can.
We're 95% complete now. When we're all complete, will that increase again?
Repeat that, regarding the project?
Yeah.
So the project is going to increase the speed infrastructurally, internally. It's not going to increase how much speed we have outside of here. We're still limited on what's available. It will, however, help communication between buildings and internal speed. So what that means is devices that talk to, let's say, a printer or two computers talking together, we'll see faster speeds there, which should keep less likely dips for the kids when they're on their devices. But our internet speed is still capped. We only have so much on the mountain. A new company is taking over our internet next year in the 2022 school year, which is a new infrastructure of fiber that's running on the mountain that we should see increased speeds from. But as far as actual internet speeds, this is not fixing that.
Damien, could you provide a status update on the FTC funding for the Chromebooks that you applied for?
You mean the emergency fund?
Yeah.
Yes.
The $8.7 billion, the piece that we applied for?
Yes, so we were approved to get $161,000 back. That would cover the cost of the 600 that we bought post-July. We did get approved for that. Right now, I had some, I think, Mr. Mahalik, you saw a paper come across your desk. I have to just, unfortunately, a lot of things have merged with sam.gov and some other things, but yes, we did get approved for approximately $161,000 and change, which would pay for all the devices we bought post-July.
Well, that's
Thank you, Damien, for your
very
work on that.
welcome news. I wasn't aware of that till right now, Mr. Blanchard. Again, I appreciate you taking the time and the effort into that grant. I know there was some thoughts early on that, we might not qualify. I never expected that, but I really didn't. This is tremendous news. I didn't know it. And to the board, this is the first time learning of it as well. So what great news that we could deliver here today.
Thank you. Yes, that's excellent news. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you. I do one last piece to technology. And, we've been speaking of FIDS, Flexible Instruction Days. You've been hearing this. And when we're talking about it in June and July, I'm sure it didn't stick, but now, as we get closer to that first snowstorm, and I know it doesn't feel like snow yet, but it can shortly, we need to make sure our community are aware that we have applied and been granted 5 FIDS days. Again, Mrs. Foster, thank you so much for your efforts. None of these things happen quickly or easily. I mean, the state really puts you, and with good reason, they need to make sure that what we're providing to these students on days that we may not be able to open because of our buses or whatever the case might be, but we can still provide instruction and have it count as a school day. We've been granted 5 of them. Take it, Mrs. Foster.
Flexible Instruction Day is designed to continue to reinforce, develop, and expand students' learning while away from the traditional setting. So that would mean something like a snow day. During a school closure, we will allow people to continue to learn at home, and the expectations are that we would announce a Flexible Instruction Day just like we would on any other snow day. It will be sent out through our Blackboard multimedia messaging system. It'll be posted on Facebook, Twitter, on the local TV stations, as well as just about every place you can put it on the mountain. So you'll get that message that says, hey, it's a snow day. No, you won't say snow day. It will say Flexible Instruction Day, FIDS, FIDS. On our website will be this entire descriptor that I'm providing to you right now. Our FIDS schedule will look like a traditional school day. So if your first period is English class, you log onto your English Google Classroom. If your second period is science, you log into your second period science classroom and you follow the traditional schedule. So if your class starts at 8 o'clock, that's what time you log in. So it is a real school day. Students will learn either synchronously or asynchronously, depending on where the teacher is at that point in their instruction throughout the week. They may have posted assignments in Google Classroom. They may be live on Google Meet. It depends on where they are in their instruction. Students that do not have internet access, we've already identified through a series of surveys and emails that we collected in order to distribute Chromebooks. So we will be able to pre-position hotspots for those students. If for some reason power goes down during the day, teachers will also be able to either, 1, send work home ahead of time. Most of the time, our news media is pretty good about letting us know that snow's coming. So we can pre-position some packets home for kids. If we know that there's areas, specifically New Angola, Slocum, around Whitehaven, where power tends to go out quickly or frequently, I would be sending work home with those kids in the form of packets or workbooks, or even just take your textbooks home. Guys, we may just have a FIDS day tomorrow. Also, the other piece that's important is that WVIA, through their public broadcasting services, also provides instructional support during the school day. And specifically in the elementary school, it's more elementary driven to continue kids learning around reading, writing, and literacy. So that's a unique option that is available. So students with IEPs will also have the support of their teachers. Should they not be able to go online, we ask parents to call their building principals, or their buildings, excuse me, not necessarily the principals, but they will need to speak with their building secretaries and principals or guidance counselors to just say, I can't learn online today because my computer died and I didn't have a chance to get it fixed, so I'll be doing work asynchronously that day. Student attendance is required. They're required to check in on their Google Classroom, and again, if they're offline, they simply call the school to report themselves as in attendance. We will continue to learn through our educational software platforms, including ExactPath through Adventum, Sadler Math, Amplify, Google Classroom, MobiMax, ConnectEd, and Wonders. We have a host of resources available so that learning continues. So, like I said, if technology goes bust on us, which occasionally can happen, the plan is to please reach out to your buildings. Just let them know that technology didn't work for me today. I'll be working on paper packets, and that work will be accepted the very next day we're in school. So if the FIDS day is a Friday, students submit their work on Monday, and all is good. So there are 5 days available for us to use as flexible instruction days, and let's just hope the snow gods are nice to us, and we can use them all and not tip into anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Foster, and if you can, and I know you have, I just encourage you again, please keep this in Comment News.
Absolutely.
Because again, as we now get closer, people will pay more attention because it's more relevant at this time of year.
Absolutely. This is going live on our website under About Us tomorrow. It will also be in Comment News. I will be posting it in Skyward Message Center district-wide, and I probably should do a special edition Comment News for just this to post district-wide as well.
That would be really appreciative.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I have a question for Ms. Foster. Do we already have the Google Classroom set up, or will that be coming down the line?
Google Classrooms are part of our typical operating procedure right now. Every teacher within the secondary campus is using Google Classroom, and it's my belief that's true in the elementaries as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan.
Okay, I apologize. I just want to chime in. We actually have the guidelines for the flexible instruction days live on the site now.
They're live.
So you can actually go to About Us, and then we have a section called Information Regarding Flexible Instruction Days.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan was instrumental in creating that webpage for me, so thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I had a quick text message question regarding FIDS. Is FIDS a district decision for all buildings on the same day? Mr. Mahalik, I think that one's aimed at you. Is it FIDS district-wide for all buildings on the same day, or could it be one building at a time?
It's a great question. I cannot anticipate it being anything but district-wide. Again, we would use this almost exclusively, unless there was some sort of, other natural disaster, but exclusively for snow.
Right.
And so I couldn't imagine that we would say, okay, we'll get the secondary kids in, but not the elementary. So, again, great question, but it would probably most likely always be our K-12 students.
Thank you.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree as well. Anything else?
Thank you.
I'd like to just comment. I commend Mr. Blanchard for the after-hours Wi-Fi planning. I think it's really important for student safety, so thank you for that. And after consulting with Solicitor Dean, he recommended that we move the Chromebook warranty program to the agenda for next week for a board vote, unless Mr. Boone and Mr. Mahalik know that we wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Solicitor Dean recommended that we move the warranty for the Chromebooks to next week for a board vote, unless Mr. Mahalik or Mr. Boone decided we didn't need to.
I generally
I'd like to
don't go
approve it.
against our solicitor.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the reason, and we can ask him, but, because we have all sorts of, but yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it isn't a contract of any sort by us. It's directly between the parents and the warranty company. We're just providing the conduit to it. So I don't know if that helps with information to figure that out, but it's not a contract that we're in any negotiation with them, or it's nothing the board's actually making an action towards. It's just producing a conduit between the parent and the warranty company.
We could review it with Attorney Dean before and if we need to add it, Mrs. McCurdy will add it. And if Attorney Dean changes his opinion after we talk to him about it, we won't add it, but it'll be something that we can consider adding before the agendas go out on Tuesday.
Okay, I think he just, without having, some information to review about it, he suggested that we move it over, but if you think we don't need to, then, or that we can wait, I'm not sure. I'm just worried about the new Sunshine Act law, so I'm not really clear on how things changed.
Okay.
So
I would just
any
want to change the
recommendations?
dates on it, if
Very good point, Mrs. McCurdy.
We do have time next week to still add stuff before, so as long
So-
as we have it for Monday,
Okay,
then we should be okay for the Sunshine Act.
good point. Okay, that sounds good. Well, are there any other questions? regarding the
So,
item?
Mr. Blanchard, you'll get that to Mr. Dean so he can review?
Yes, and then,
Thank
yeah,
you.
just so I know, should I change the dates with anticipation that it would be on the agenda, or do we want him to look at it first, maybe tomorrow if possible?
Let him look at it. He'll review that quickly and
Okay.
be able to give an opinion.
Okay, perfect.
Same day.
All right, thank you.
Okay, no other questions, and I move to adjourn the Technology Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Where we are going here? Positive behavioral intervention, Mrs. Bibla.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. Mrs. Bath?
Here.
Noah McGovern. I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 9th, 2021. I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We do not have any agenda items or topics for discussion. I move to adjourn positive behavior.
Thank you. Physical plant and grounds, Mrs. Haddix.
Mr. Costello? And Mr. Brogna?
Present.
Approval of September 9th's minutes, I so move.
Second.
I have one item under recommended to move to next week's agenda that is now a discussion item. We found out late in the summer that we had an issue with the Rice Elementary food cooler, the walk-in cooler for the kitchen. We made some quick repairs to that cooler to get us through this year. We are in the process of getting a firm quote for its replacement that we can do next summer. We did have a proposal of $52,744 from Rice's Food Equipment and Consulting Incorporated. This is a CoStar's vendor. The issue with this price is that it was from August. We suspect that it may go up with the cost of equipment on the rise, as well as it was stated as it was for budgetary purposes only. So that is not moving to next week's agenda. Anyone have any questions from the board? Public?
I'd like to add that there also is some other problems with not problems per se, but some other things that may cause this number to increase a little bit. The electrician, and Scott Brummagem here, and I will yield to Scott in a little bit when we get to the open discussion items. But in this proposal, the electrician isn't included in the cost either. Either is any cost overrun, such as when they start the work, if there has to be any excavation of the ground underneath it, because it is one of those coolers that were actually built into the facility. So there may need to be excavation done at the facility site. The cost of this would be covered. We have a fund at Johnny Montgomery Scott in the amount of roughly about $330,000 that we would use to pay for this. It's for our emergency capital projects. This would be used to pay for this project under that emergency funding source. So we use that we don't have to borrow any money to fund this. But the problem is that, and I talked to Scott about this afternoon, would be that if we don't act, and I would like to act on this in November if we could, because the problem is with supply chain, that the way the supply chain is that even if we placed the order with Rice now to get the items in for repair, it's already in March or April already. So if we back it up another month, we're looking at May, and that's already at the end of the school year, already. So I think, and Scott could address this a little bit more when we get to item 5, but there is a concern that if we wait a little bit more, so we need to get the total picture from them is exactly what the electrician will be, what any cost overruns will be. Usually it's about 10 or 15%, Stacy, as you know, with the cost of a project. What we're looking at in terms of the replacement of that cooler. But the cooler, like I said, we did temporary repairs in the amount of about $2,000 or $3,000 to get us through. So we should be okay for any potential failures. And we do have fail safes. We do have contingency plans in place if there was a failure for the rest of this year. So we want the public to know that if it does fail now, we have contingencies in place to keep the kids fed at Rice Elementary. But we do want to move forward on this as soon as possible. So I'll yield to Scott for the rest of that, but I just wanted to add that we do have plans and funding in place, that we don't need to borrow any more additional money for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to open discussion, the first item is the boiler project. That boiler project is complete. There were no change orders. It was completed on time, and I believe to Mr. Brummagem and Mr. Mahalik satisfaction.
That's correct, Mrs. Haddix. That boiler project, everything went as planned. They did everything they promised they would do within the time frame. We now feel very confident. Our school will be warm all winter long. That boiler does heat about 90% of our secondary campus. So we were very pleased the way that project turned out. As you know, we've had cold nights already where it drops below 50 degrees, so that system has kicked into place, and we know it works under real conditions. So with that, we're good.
Yeah, Mr. Ramesh, if I just may add, because I need to, I've been a part of many projects, boiler projects, renovations of such in public education in my time. I've never had a company do such a large undertaking. And it's a large undertaking, changing this out. Just if you think of your own heating system in your house, that itself is large. Now you look at the size of this building, I've never seen a company work as diligently, as quiet. You didn't even know they were moving out all that stuff, bringing in all that stuff. Absolutely no damage to anything. I cannot say enough about this company and what they did. The time frame, absolutely within the time frame, but the manner and mannerism that they worked in was just absolutely tremendous. So again, my hat's off to, can you repeat the name of the company, please, Mr. Brummagem?
It's Penn State Mechanical.
Yeah, they were tremendous.
Yeah, they took out the 2 old boilers that have been there for who knows how long. They were the size of Greyhound buses, all iron and steel, and they virtually made them disappear. There's 3 small boilers down there. If you'd see it, you wouldn't believe it, that it could heat this entire campus.
And we had teachers and students in this campus all summer, and if you asked them what was taking place, no one would say there was any sort of building construction going on at all. So, tremendous.
The next item, just to help let our community, our staff, our students know that we are aware that the Siemens Phase 1 project did not go as planned, as smoothly. It continues to be a challenge daily. We are continuing to work on it. Scott, Mr. Brummagen works on it daily with Heim and Siemens. They are responsive. The challenge is that, and I would urge for future projects, that a company 2 hours away is not used for such a large project. So their response time is delayed, but they are continuing to address issues. Everything is currently still under warranty, so the remedies are not costing the district anything at this point. Mr. Mahalik, Mr. Brummagen, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, and again, I think to both of you and Ms. Sachs, I have to commend you, the amount of time and your expertise you share with us. So not costing us money, there's a lot of frustration. Frustration, I know, on the part of my director of buildings and grounds, and thank you for hanging in and being patient. But even more importantly, there's, not that you're not important, you're very important. More importantly, there's frustration and discomfort amongst our staff and our students, we all thought that we wouldn't be dealing with this. So I know you're working through it, and I know that they don't completely understand that you just can't fix it like that, and that there's this whole entire process that must go through, and it is out of our hands, and we are at the mercy of other people. And so a lot of times we could just say, we know your room is 110 degrees. We know that, and we're trying to work through it. And so again, thank you for your for your efforts, Mr. Brummagen, and staying on the company and working hand in hand.
I appreciate those comments. I do want to say we are getting very close. This has been a while. When they finished the project, obviously when they tested things, it was, they finished after summer is over, so they're trying to test the chillers in winter, and you really can't do that. So we understand there was going to be problems with that. We've gone through summers. There was issue with shipping materials because of COVID and the backups of all that. You guys have heard all the excuses, and a lot of them are legitimate excuses. But as Stacy pointed out, it's tough when you have a company that's 2 hours away and something is seriously going wrong. They do respond. They have fixed everything that we've told them needs fixing. It's just a matter of time. It's tough working with kids in school. Of course, it's hard interrupting classwork, that whole scenario. So we are close with that Siemens Phase 1. They are helpful. They haven't turned their backs on us. They're not charging us anything yet. And it's even to the edge of the original warranty part, but they are not fighting with us at all. They're going to wait to make sure everything is up and running 100%.
It's great to hear.
Yes, as hopeful as we were to proceed with a Phase 2 for air conditioning in the high school, it's best that we were not able to proceed with that. It would have been, I think, just way too much for Mr. Brummagen's staff to handle, and himself and Mr. Mahalik, with all of the issues with Phase 1 that continue to go on.
Mrs. Haddock, this is Jim Brogna. Could I have a second? I just wanted to add my thoughts to this, to the committee and to the community, and if anyone's on the board. Mrs. Haddock and I were not on the board when this project was voted on in the spring of 2019. I recall sitting in the board meeting, and it was presented as a long-term fix for all of our HVAC problems. Siemens presented this plan as a cost savings, which we're hopefully going to realize, but it was also presented as a STEM partnership. There were quotes in the newspaper about how amazing this was going to be. I was not on the board at that time. Neither was Mrs. Haddix. And now we're on the committee that's dealing with all the ramifications of inability to deliver, inconsistency in temperatures, all the challenges in all of our buildings with this major long-term commitment to this company, a multi-million-dollar commitment. So I just caution the community when there's challenges about costs and taxes, et cetera, when you realize that one way or another we have to spend money, and especially in a project of this magnitude, that this company could not deliver to the deadlines that they promised. They certainly didn't warrant the opportunity for a phase two that was presented by last year's school board president. And I'm certainly glad that there was a 5-4 vote against phase two, because that would have been more millions of dollars of debt in a company, a contractor who clearly couldn't even handle phase one. So I always step gingerly when I'm concerned about something such a significant financial investment. And Mrs. Haddix, you've done an amazing job both with the boiler project, which could have been included in this, and it would have been more cost and more heartache of always trying to find solutions and to save money for the district and to do what's right. So while several of us are questioned about raising taxes, we realize there's a lot of challenges with the school district, and especially on the capital list, what we reviewed the last couple months, and Siemens has not helped to the greatest degree that they were supposed to help with this original proposal.
When Siemens came and proposed this, there was 4 or 5 individuals that came and proposed several times. So I say, since we're still having these issues, I say we get a meeting with these people and bring them here. Because at this point, this has been months and months that you've been dealing with this. Scott's been dealing with this. We've gone through an entire summer now of things that aren't working. Nothing. Yes, they've come and fixed it, but we haven't gotten anything that is working. So let's bring them back.
We've had meetings with them in person. They promise to address it. They work with us. They address things. More things break.
Let's bring them to the committee, to committee meetings, so we can all talk to them.
We can certainly invite them back. And that is the challenge that we've had to deal with the subcontractor under Siemens directly when we did not pay them directly. Our checks went to Siemens.
Along with that, I ended up filling out a survey about Siemens that was sent to me several times. I kind of bypassed it, and I finally said, I'm going to fill this out. Well, needless to say, it wasn't a glowing survey on my part. And sure enough, I had a regional vice president call me directly and address my issues, and I was on the phone with him for about a half an hour, listing every concern of mine. And this was just recently. So he is taking my comments, and he copied on everything I had to say, and he is coming back to us regarding this. So Ms. Bibla, when he does get back to me, I will certainly say, we'd like to invite you in, and you can sit up here and explain to everybody the challenges that you guys faced, what you did to overcome them, and where we're at now. But again, we are at the end of this. We're seeing light. A lot of things are fixed. It's just still fine tuning a multi-million-dollar project. We understood it would take a while, but we're almost there, and they are responding to us.
Thank you.
The next item is our work order system, and Mr. Brummagem and his staff are continuing to work through that and get his staff used to the change in technology. It is certainly a learning curve, and there's an awful lot of data that has to be implemented, but that is in progress. And then the last item that I want to just mention to the board and the public is we recently had another meeting to discuss capital needs and a strategic plan for capital. With our limited capital budget, and Mr. Bard can speak to this, and the vast amount of capital needs of the district, there poses some unique challenges for our future. I think everyone is aware that we have significant issues with our track. We have a 1996 dump truck that needs replacement, a 2001 pickup truck that needs replacement. We need the retaining wall on the secondary campus to be investigated. We have roof replacements at Rice and Fairview. We have pavement on all of our campuses that need to be addressed. We have generators that need replacement. We have both coolers at the elementary schools needing replacement, the brick facade on this building needing to be repaired, the roof near the facade needs to be repaired, and an electrical system in the stadium that also needs to be looked at. So these are all of the things that are part of our capital planning. As I mentioned, all of those items on that list, they are millions of dollars worth of issues. Not one of those things is an addition to the district. So just to paint the picture of what the campus is going to be looking at financially for capital.
Mrs. Haddix, I also, to that end, I had a meeting with our financial planner, one of our debt consultants, and we're working on a plan that I hope to be able to present at the next financial planning committee meeting when I share with you some of the profit and loss from the audit, hopefully next month, and hopefully be able to show you what borrowing a large amount of capital will do for the millage rate in the district. So what kind of, to also address one big elephant in the room that you did not mention, and that is the elementary schools which are at capacity or over capacity. So that is one thing that was not mentioned. So that is something that needs to be addressed as well. And we have a number on that, but that is also something that is going to be addressed in that borrowing phase. That we could put a millage rate on it. But yes, we do have limited capacity to do things of that nature, but we are investigating, I'm investigating what that would look like for the board and for the community at large. And I hope to have something, just a brief presentation to go into that as to where we landed in 2020, 2021, as well as what the future will hold in that regard. So I'm hoping at the next financial planning committee in November, we can have something like that. Because the audit is 95% complete, but I'm still waiting for, get the financial statements done and in, so, okay.
Thank you. Mr. Brumingen, do you have anything?
I just wanted to briefly touch base on the work order system. It's new to us. We've never had that in the past. It's really a 3-level asset to us now. The first priority we are using that for is we have all these millions of dollars worth of new equipment throughout the district. All of that information has now been loaded into our new system, every little piece of equipment that's been put in this school. So it's quite a large amount. We're going to be able to automatically track when this equipment needs to be preventative maintenance work done on it, when things are due. It's going to keep us on top of maintaining this very expensive equipment we have and extending the life expectancy out of them for sure. So that's what's being done right now. The next step is we get to send it out to the entire district, to the teachers, secretaries, anybody who has access to a school computer, where they'll be able to log on, and I'll work with Damien with this. It's a very simple process where if something breaks in their classroom, they get a broken window, a faulty heater, they can simply go online and submit that, and it's in my hands within seconds. And then the next step is I can disseminate it down to our maintenance crew to get on it, and then we'll be able to track to see how long it takes to get fixed or how long something took to correct. And going down the road, if we keep having, you get a lemon for a car, you keep dumping money into it, well, we'll be able to track that. If we're calling for service calls on any of the equipment, we can look back and see how many times that's been called on, what's been changed, do we have a lemon? We never did that in the past. It was all by hand and written in memory, so that's all going to be eliminated. So that's a much bigger system than I originally thought it was going to be, as opposed to just giving out electronic work orders. So it's going to keep us on top of everything we're doing. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
I think in this discussion this week, one of our immediate needs was replacement of the pickup truck. Let the public know, transmission leaks, hole in the box. If we were able to get it to Harry's, you pull it, I don't know what we get out of it. I would, and I know vehicles are a little high priced right now, but also back ordered. I would hope maybe within the next month that Mr. Brummagem and Mr. Bard get together with the staff, see what our needs are, decide if we're going new, used, investigate exactly what we need. Do we need, I know in talking to some custodians, they would like to see a lift gate. That might be too expensive and too timely, something the district could use, but maybe we just can't afford. But within the next month, get together a proposal, maybe bring it to the board in November for a vote so that we can get moving, especially if it takes a while to get these vehicles. So I'd like to see some movement on that.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Bard's already been in contact with some, we're even looking at possibly leasing vehicles, purchasing. We've talked to several dealers already. So by next month, we will have something for the committee to go forward with.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions, comments? Thank you. Adjourn.
Thank you. Co-curricular, McGovern, Mrs. Haddix.
I will seek approval for the minutes of the co-curricular committee meeting on September 9th. I so move.
Second.
Seeking approval to move the following agenda item to next week's board meeting agenda. Recommend consideration and approve the following coaches for the 2021-22 school year: Mercedes Glecko, volunteer cheer coach, and James Costello, volunteer wrestling coach. Number 2, recommend consideration and approve Susan Thomas as a volunteer marching band assistant. Any questions or comments from the board?
If I may just, on action, will be an action item, 1B, we will be looking to have Mr. Costello as the volunteer head wrestling coach. We unfortunately lost our head coach. He accepted another position or something, I'm not even sure, but he's not able to fulfill that position. We're very, very late in the, believe it or not, we're late in the season, even though the season doesn't begin yet, because the way it is these days, these student athletes are, really training since probably 1st of June for their wrestling season. It would be our intention to then make Mr. Costello the permanent head coach when his tenure as a board member is up. As we know, there's a conflict. We know that. We do appreciate him taking this. He has already begun working with the team. We do have phenomenal assistant coaches. I mean, really, really very good assistant coaches, but they're not able to be the head coach. Mr. Bibba is one of them. He's stepped up. So we have a good group of people that have stepped up, and Mr. Costello has stepped up to be that volunteer head coach. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? There is no items under discussion. So move to adjourn co-curricular. Oh, I have to vote, yes.
Did you move?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Asking for a motion to move items 1 and 2 to the agenda. I so move.
Second.
Any other questions, comments? Adjourn.
Thank you. Transportation, I don't know, Mrs. Spath, do you have a copy in front of you or not yet?
Yep, I'm here, Barry.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to do a roll call first. Mrs. Bibla?
Here.
Mr. Costello? All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes for the September 9th, 2021 committee meeting. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so for this month, we will be recommending a motion to approve the bus driver list for both Reinheimer and Chivarella. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, hearing none. I will make a recommendation to seek approval for the following item, 4A, 1 and 2, at next week's board meeting. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none. The next item is a discussion for bus patrol. Pete, are you the one who's going to be talking about this?
Yes, I was working with, we had a presentation about a month and a half ago with a group called, there's a company called Bus Patrol. What they do is they mount cameras on the stop arms of vehicles and they take, of our buses, our school buses. And anytime a person runs a stop arm or runs a red light of our school buses, the bus patrol camera takes a picture of the driver and takes a picture of the license plate of the offending vehicle and sends it to the local police department. The local police department then will sign off on well, actually, let me take a step back. The bus patrol company then issues a private criminal citation. I shouldn't say criminal, but a private citation for a fine in the amount of, I believe it's $300 plus costs for the violation of running the stop arm violation for the school buses. That violation gets sent to the local municipality, wherever the violation occurs. As you know, we have 9 municipalities that feed into the Crestwood School District. And then that citation then goes to the person with the evidence to back up the citation. How that works also is Bus Patrol then defends it, and also if there's a hearing, the Bus Patrol attends the hearing. Nothing really has to do with Crestwood or the bus company or anything of that nature. In return for that, Bus Patrol also offered to buy and purchase equipment that goes on our vehicles. Some of the equipment includes swipe cards that will help take the driver to take attendance, and also help our parents keep track of the vehicle. When the vehicle is driving close to your house, you get an alert, and that software may be available to all of the district parents who have the bus or have kids on the vehicle, and they get an alert when their bus is 5 minutes away from their house, so you have better tracking of your student when they're coming, so you know when the bus is near your home for pickup. So, and the Bus Patrol pays for that with no cost to the school district. So this is something that we've been working with our local municipalities to sign memorandums of understanding with. Our solicitor, Attorney Dean, has been working with all 9 of them, and we've had success at getting the municipalities to sign off on them. So we would like to advance this to a board vote to enter into a contract with Bus Patrol to begin the process of equipping our vehicles with these cameras, and also equipping the vehicles with the Zonar equipment that goes along with the Bus Patrol equipment as well. So that would be something I would like to move forward. Attorney Dean has said it would be okay to push forward to the October 21st board meeting if the committee so chooses to move forward with it. So
our Transportation Committee we need to know if you would like to move that forward. Mr. Dean will, and between Mr. Dean and Mr. Bard, will get us the details before next week's board meeting.
Yeah, there'll be a contract that'll be done and reviewed. It'll be probably with the agenda item will read to approve the contract with Bus Patrol pending Attorney Dean's review, so that if Attorney Dean doesn't have the review done in time for the 21st, the contract could be approved pending his review.
So, Mr. Brune, do we have to take a vote on that?
Yeah, you would have to recommend moving that forward, and that's what you would need, the two people that are present to move it forward.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move that forward to the board meeting for next week. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
we're going to move that forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, was there any other questions on transportation? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Financial planning, Mr. Brogna.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. I'll call to order the Financial Planning Committee, and I'll be seeking, I'll be taking a roll. Mrs. Haddix.
Here.
Mr. Swank. Two members present. I'll be seeking approval of the minutes for the September 9th Financial Planning Committee. I so move.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We'll be recommending moving the following items to our board meeting on October 21st, items 1 through 4. Any questions from our committee? Okay, any questions from the board?
Item 2, I would like to see added at the end of the paragraph, effective date January 1st, 2022. And as far as the cost, they has not had a raise in at least 9 years, and that figure there would be good for the next 5 years with no raises. But we add the effective date. His present deal runs out the end of this year.
Right, it should say.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Brogna, yeah, number 2 should say January 1st, 2022 through December 31st. It should be a 5-year contract, so December 31st, 2026, I believe. Right, Mr. Boone?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions from the community? We'll be recommending to move these 4 items forward for a board vote next week on October 21st. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no discussion items. Mr. Bard, do you have anything to add as it relates to financial planning discussion items? I know you said that you'll be presenting some items in the next month. Do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I would like to add is next month, my goal is to present the overall 5,000-foot view of what the audit came up with, as our audit is about 97% complete for this year, for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. So I'd like to present the results of that, and I'd also like to present a potential look ahead to any capital projects borrowing that needs to be done in the school district and for the community to look ahead at what we're facing. So I like to do that, but that's really the only 2 discussion items I have, that the audit is nearly complete, and that I would like to present a small presentation for the committee, for the board, and for the community next month at the next month's committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Bard. Thank you for your work on those items, and we'll look forward to hearing some more detail. We realize that, as was presented in the building and grounds, there's a significant list of capital items. Some of them we've been able to prioritize as extremely pressing and to prevent any safety issues, and then others, hopefully, we could put off as long as possible with an inability to only as you said, borrow a limited amount of money. So I appreciate your efforts. Any other comments or questions from the board? I'll be seeking a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Okay, committee dismissed.
Okay, motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you, everybody.